think about it. If you buy the property for 200,000, put in 50,000, then it's going to be worth 500,000. It's a great deal, right? But if you try to go to a regular bank, they're going to make you do an appraisal on it. They're going to say, oh, this property is in such bad condition. We're not going to give you a loan on it. Oh, maybe you don't have a good credit score, or you don't have enough income from your full-time job to support this. We're not going to give you the loan.
Sean, thank you for joining me for our Thought Leader Spotlight series. I'm your host over here, Matt Camp with DealMachine, and on these, we really like to shine an industry spotlight on experts like yourself, hear your inspiring stories, and have you educate our audience on how you see the world evolving. So really excited to welcome on today Sean Pan. He's a real estate investor with a 34-unit portfolio with your wife.
Yep.
Hard money lender, and you put out phenomenal content online, reaching nearly 3 million followers between YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, at the time of this recording at least. So if you want to find him on there, it's just Sean Loves Real Estate. He talks about real estate investing, personal finance, financial freedom, topics like that. So welcome on, Sean.
Matt, thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah. So maybe to begin with, I know we're, obviously more on the real estate investing side in terms of our audience. Can you talk a little bit more about your journey into real estate, how you did your first deal, kind of that kind of newbie intro journey, if that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my journey started from when I was an intern. I was still in college working at a defense contracting company and realizing how unhappy my coworkers were. And that's really the crux of it. I'm an intern. I'm excited to work my full-time job. I've been spending my whole time in school and college to end up in this place, only to find out that the people who I want to become are not happy with who they are. They're complaining that they can't buy their own houses within 30 minutes of a commute drive from work. They're complaining how they barely have enough for retirement. And I thought, if I stay here for another 30 years, I'm going to be like them and unhappy and unfulfilled. So I quickly realized that I can't stay here forever. So I had to find different ways to earn, side income. And I tried a lot of different businesses, right? I tried to sell products on Amazon. I tried to create my own startup company with my friends. None of those really worked out, but it's okay because I found about real estate investing, mostly through Bigger Pockets, actually. Great podcast, great information online.
Oh, yeah.
And just learning about how, as long as the numbers work, you can buy a property that cash flows. So that pays for your mortgage, your property taxes, your insurance, your property manager, any of the other random expenses that come about. And the whole time you're getting that passive cash flow, the property is also appreciating in value. You get tax benefits, et cetera, et cetera. So I was sold. I thought, okay, the numbers seem to make sense. The factor of luck that's required for many other businesses doesn't seem to be that important with real estate investing. And that's ultimately how I got hooked into it. And when it comes to my first deal was actually my own primary residence. My family's from the Bay Area, and my mom was actually about to leave. And she wanted to sell her home. I said, no, don't sell the home. I'll buy it from you. So I bought the home for my mom, enabled her to retire over in Taiwan. And it just so happened that my job in LA needed someone to move back to the Bay Area. So I raised my hand and said, yeah, I volunteer. So they moved me back home, basically. And now I had this big house with no one else to live in it. So then I heard about house hacking. Oh, cool. I can rent out these rooms to friends and family and whatever. And I just did that. I rented out my rooms to other friends who are from Los Angeles who want to move to the Bay Area for work. I rent out the rooms to my coworkers who also need a place to stay for cheap. Then I realized I could live in an expensive area like the Bay Area for free because of house hacking. And then that led to buying more properties, more rental properties out of state and flipping homes and blah, blah, blah. And so here we are now, 34 units later.
Yeah, love it, man. The house hack approach, I know that's what David Lecco, our CEO and founder, did as well. I feel like, when you lay it out like that, you do, in general, your content, you're very good at simplifying real estate, just making it, not making it so complicated. Why do you think that is, that it can get so overcomplicated and be intimidating for people to get into that?
You mean it's definitely the fear of unknown. I think most people, especially who are like my age or younger, right? They don't even think that buying real estate is possible because of the wages they earn and how much real estate is. They think that that's like a burden or a hurdle they'll never be able to overcome. And because of that, there's so many steps to buying a piece of real estate that it becomes super complicated when you combine all these factors all into one purchase. But if you can break down each step very simply, then you realize, okay, buying a property isn't really that hard. And that's kind of like what I want to approach them, right? I want to expose them to the smaller piece of real estate, the benefits of it, so they get more and more exposed and interested in the subject. So eventually when they are ready, they are able to buy their first property.
Love it. Yeah, I mean, I think you do a great job of that too. You have that webinar, the How to Buy Your First Rental Property 101. Obviously, that's an entire deep dive on the subject. You don't have quite the time to go through that entire thing right now, but could you maybe give us some of the cliff notes of the most important nuggets from that, some of the key tenets to that, a little bit of a crash course here, if that's okay?
Sure. So yeah, we do offer this 101 masterclass on our link in bio, Instagram, YouTube, and all that stuff. Essentially, what we do is we cover two parts. One is like the motivation part. What makes real estate investing so great, especially compared to other types of investing, right? There's, buying stocks, there's buying crypto. You can just have your money in cash, or you can buy real estate. So like, again, what makes real estate shine? The Cliff Notes version of that is, again, like I mentioned, appreciation, cash flow, tax benefits, benefits for even generational wealth, right? And then we also go into like the how to's. So it's not enough to just know why, but also like what you should be doing. So again, this is very general, but we do talk about, first of all, finding your market, right? There's so many cities in the United States. Where are you going to invest? It doesn't have to be where you live. That's the beauty of real estate. Like my first like real rental property was 3,000 miles away, and I bought that sight unseen because unfortunately, like, I had a property in the Bay Area with my engineering salary, I couldn't buy another rental property in
Right.
the Bay Area, especially one that would cash flow make sense. So, we're teaching them like you don't have to buy here; you can buy anywhere in the country. We're also talking about how to get a loan. We talk a little bit about how to build your dream team, such as your agent, your property manager, maybe it's your contractor. Um, that's the crux of the masterclass. Just a general overview of why you should buy real estate and how to really just get started.
Yeah. Are you personally, I mean, I know you have that portfolio with your wife as well, but are you personally changing your strategy at all this year based on the market, or how are you kind of reacting to the last, 6 months and then moving forward right now?
Sure. So, as you all know, the last 6 months have been very turbulent. I used to be a hard money lender, so I saw that firsthand, like when it was all going
Hmm.
down. Early 2022, the market was super crazy hot, and then around March timeframe, the interest rates started climbing up and climbing up and climbing up. And then when that happened, prices started going down. Market got a little bit more turbulent. So that's what we're doing too. Like we are definitely taking a more cautious approach. We are still buying properties. Like my wife and I recently closed on a property last month. Um, but like the way you do things change, right? So before, we would try to leverage as much as we could because interest rates were cheap. Now interest rates are a little bit higher, and we do have more cash, so we are buying more properties with just cash.
Hmm.
Um, so I guess like the way you finance things change, and also the deals you get need to be like actually good. Right? Like we want to be really excited for the deals we get. Whereas before, if the numbers were still like okay, we would close on it. If that makes sense. Like we only
Yep.
close on really really good deals now that we're really excited
Mhm.
about.
Oh yeah, I mean that's really the main thing we're trying to teach people too. Is no matter what your exit strategy is, if you buy right, which for us we really talk about going off market, going direct to seller, and all of that, on the deal machine front. But if you buy right, regardless of what your exit strategy is, you're putting yourself in a good position. So
Exactly.
um,
And the way I
yeah,
see it too, I think real estate will recover. So as long as again you're buying right, real estate will eventually recover.
love it. I know you mentioned financing, and there's a couple ways to go about it, and that might be shifting over time. Can you maybe for our audience define hard money? When to use it as a tool, kind of the role that hard money can play, and why it's so useful for potential investors, especially the newbie.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, for the newbie, let's go back to basics. When you buy a property, there's two main ways to buy it, right? You can buy it with all of your own money, like say the property is worth 200,000, you can spend 200,000 of your own cash to buy it. Or you can go to a lender and have them pay a big portion of it. In real estate, it's typically going to be 80% of the purchase price. So a lender comes in for 160,000, you come in with your 40,000 down payment plus whatever closing cost. The thing about most conventional lenders, we're talking about like Wells Fargo, Chase, the big guys, they'll take that loan and then sell it on the back end to, a larger institution like Fannie Mae, right?
Mm-hmm.
The thing is with Fannie Mae's, they only accept loans based on a certain criteria because they accept so many loans on a regular basis. They can't look at every single person. So they typically want you to have, a certain credit score. They want you to fit a box for your debt to income ratio, meaning how much money you make from your job and based on like the payments on this one property taxes, the mortgage, etc. And they'll see, okay, based on your income, can you support this loan? Right?
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make sense to give someone a loan for $10 million if they make $50,000 a year. It doesn't make sense. So now the difference with hard money is they actually don't care about debt to income ratios. They do care about credit scores a little bit, but not as much as like the big banks do. So they're definitely more flexible. Now, the downside of hard money is they're going to charge you a lot more. So let's give an example. If a regular loan would cost 5 or 6% on a 30-year basis, uh, the hard money lender will charge you 10 to 12% and only give you 1 year to complete your project. So your timeline is shortened. The interest rate is a lot higher, and if you're caught in a bad situation, you're going to be spending a lot of money on this potential rehab. But then again, it promotes good deals. So if your deal is really good, I'm getting a property for half off, then yeah, hard money is a great way to buy the property.
Yeah. Can you maybe walk through that scenario of like, hey, here's a hypothetical of when hard money would be a really good option for, especially again, for that newbie, you think?
Okay, sure. So let's say we have a property that after it's all fixed up and pretty, it will be worth $500,000. And you're able to get it off market. It's in a really bad condition for $200,000. So there's a huge spread there. And it only takes you $50,000.
That's what we're going for usually on our end too, is that distressed property. So there you go.
Yeah, exactly. Distressed property off market. You can't put on the market to sell because no one wants it. There's like holes in the roof, broken floor, etc. And it only costs you $50,000 to repair it. So if you think about it, if you buy the property for $200,000, put in $50,000, then it's going to be worth $500,000. It's a great deal, right? But if you try to go to a regular bank, they're going to make you do an appraisal on it. They're going to say, oh, this property is in such bad condition, we're not going to give you a loan on it. Oh, maybe you don't have the good credit score, or you don't have enough income from your full-time job to support this. We're not going to give you the loan. Whereas a hard money lender will say, okay, do you have enough money to cover the down payment and portion of the renovations, depending if you're getting a rehab loan or not? They'll say, oh, this doesn't look like a good deal. Here's the money. You have 1 year. Good luck. So then it's up to you to then do the project and then sell it and then make the profit.
Yeah. Do you, so if you're going to go that route, do you have any tips on how to present that deal, how to pitch that, hard money lender, how to even build relationships with hard money lenders? Can you kind of give us some advice there?
Oh, well, hard money lenders are salesmen, just like anyone else out there. So I think if you just type in hard money lenders online, there's going to be a lot of them out there, right? So then that's when you compare. You start comparing the rates, you're comparing the service, etc. So it's not hard to find a hard money lender, especially nowadays. When it comes to proposing, though, I think a good thing to have is, I guess, showing your own like experience and criteria. So the more projects you've done, the lower your rate's going to be because you're more experienced. If you have enough liquidity, like you have enough cash, then the lender will feel more comfortable giving you the loan in the first place. So when I was a hard money lender, I had a lot of people who told me that, Sean, I only have the 10% down payment. I have nothing else, not even a single penny after that. Your loans would often get denied because you need to have enough money to cover the closing costs. Sorry, you need to have enough money to cover any repairs, miscellaneous repairs. So, there's some people who think I can get away with just zero money down, use 100% of the hard money lender's money. That stuff does exist out there, but they cost maybe like 15% and 4 points or something crazy. So for the most part, like you need to have enough for your down payment, closing costs, renovation costs, something like that.
Nice. Okay, cool. The one thing I love that you seem like a phenomenal team is you teaming up with your wife to do this, the real estate business in general. Do you have any advice there on like working with a significant other and the lessons you've learned over the years of working with her?
I think the tried and true thing is she's always right. So just talk to her. I mean, I think when it comes to working with a partner, whoever it may be, I think understanding where the goals are, like what you ultimately want to do. Because for us, right, like I think our main goal in life in general, our philosophy is just to live a life true to ourselves. So I don't want to work so hard that even though I'm making a lot of money, I'm burning out because I'm working so hard on something. So for us, we're all about how do you like minimize work and maximize like enjoyment. So understanding those goals and like making sure that you only do things that align to those goals, I think is really important. Of course, coming together, talking over things. There's always going to be disagreements, no matter who they are, whether they're your spouse, your friend, your partner. So making sure you're able to understand each other and overcome those obstacles when they arise.
Yeah, that's a great philosophy in general in life. So I appreciate the tips there. But one question I was curious on too, as well, is I know something that you mentioned, like the state of the market, how you change things a little bit in terms of financing. I know you're often asked it. We're asked it often too. Is now a good time to buy? Like, how do you approach that question? How do you answer that? And if you were starting over today, what would your approach be, you think, to go get into real estate to begin with?
That's a fantastic question. And I think definitely a big concern for many people who are just getting started.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll just give you an anecdote. When I first got started with real estate investing, like seriously, it was around 2016. And by the time we were about 6 years away from that big crash we had, right, the GFC. But at the time, people were thinking, oh, it's been 6 years. That's about another cycle, things are going to drop, and didn't. 2 years later, people were starting again, and they were saying that things are going to drop, and it didn't. So not to say that things won't drop, but I think that if you have the mindset that, things are always going to drop, you're never going to get into it. So it's probably important to start. Just realize that you should be very cautious with your numbers, especially right now because of the interest rates. A lot of deals won't make sense that they used to before, because you are paying a much higher mortgage cost. You just need to be very careful with your numbers and make sure you're finding good deals and closing on them only the ones you're really excited about, just like we talked about earlier.
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna say, regardless, I think buying right, no matter what the market's doing, is can be the answer to that often. But yeah, I mean, like you said, 2016, 17, 18, 19, like every year they kept waiting for that shoe to drop. So if you're waiting forever, you're never going to get into it, right?
Yeah, and the properties I bought in 2016 have now doubled in value. So that's crazy because I bought the properties with 20% down. So that's like a 5 times return. It's insane.
Yeah,
it's great.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that kind of taps into a little bit of a broader question, but you do speak on kind of personal finance in general, and that's an area that I think we're just lacking of resources and aren't necessarily taught that, in school or anything. Like it's definitely an area that overall, people, tend to lack education in. So one, I would say, why do you think that is? And then two, what are really some of the most common mistakes that you see in the personal finance world that maybe you can educate our audience on? Like, hey, here, I know it's a broad question, but a couple things that, hey, here are some things to consider if you haven't thought about this before.
Yeah, I mean, I had the same question too, because I remember in high school growing up, I only had one class that taught about money at all, and it was an economics class, and it was an elective, so not everyone got it.
Yeah.
But I thought it was very impactful. I thought it was very useful. And, growing up, reading more books, I realized, they never really taught us how to budget. They never really taught us how to balance a checkbook or how to make sure that we're paying our bills on time, how to invest, what to invest in. I think this information is very important. That's why my wife and I, we create content around this subject, because you want to educate people and show them, look, yes, real estate investing is great, but you also have to start somewhere, right? Most people don't have like $20,000, $40,000 to drop on a down payment. So you have to start somewhere. So we are teaching that content as well. It also could be a generational thing, right? Like someone's parents may not understand finance. So how can they teach that to their kids? It's like in the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, like most of these talks are done at the dinner table. They're not done at a lecture somewhere. But with the advent of YouTube, podcasts like this one, etc., now anyone can get a hold of this kind of information, which is amazing. I mean, as far as tips for personal finance, like if you're just getting started, the very, very most important thing to understand is how can you pay yourself first, right? Again, a Rich Dad, Poor Dad thing. That's what I did when I was on a limited salary or a limited budget because of my salary. I would always pay myself first. So no matter what my expenses were, how much I have to pay and this and that, I always make sure to set a set amount every single paycheck towards a separate account. So I don't even see that money. It's gone, kind of like an IRA, right? It's gone, and I can only spend whatever's left over. So that kind of discipline taught me to save. And as I saw my accounts growing and growing, it got me more and more excited to save even more and invest even more. So it's kind of like a momentum thing.
Yeah. Love that, man. Yeah, I think, in general, we do help out the newbie investor, help them get into real estate from a standpoint of driving for dollars and for, a variety of different strategies. But we do have more advanced investors as well that are trying to kind of scale their portfolio and be able to go beyond those first initial deals. So do you know, within your real estate journey, is there anything that you've learned as you've scaled from that, that first property up to now 34 units, you said, right?
Yep.
Yeah. For the more advanced investor, like, can you maybe talk through some of the things that you've learned along that way of, how to scale that, how to build a team, how to delegate, how to, put processes in place, things like that?
Yeah. I mean, a big part of that is, I think, working on your own mindset and also realizing that no one will do a better job than you will on your own properties and being okay with that fact. So an example is I could manage my own properties. I could manage all 34 units. But I'd rather pay someone to do that for me because, again, my time is more valuable. I enjoy the peace and quiet, and I'm okay with paying for that work. Same thing with contracting work. Like, you could totally save more money, and do a project better quality if you did it yourself. But how much time would that take? And do you really want to live that kind of life? For me, no. Like, I'm okay with spending the money to like let them do that. So I think that's the first thing, being able to let go. Um, Maybe the second thing is also being understanding that real estate investing in general is a team sport. So you have to be good with people. Um, I think that's maybe what differentiates me from some other people who aren't so good at real estate investing. Like, they're not as good at like building rapport with other people. So they may be quick to sue someone or quick to yell at someone, right? And then that breaks trust, and then you can't work with that person anymore. So yeah, with real estate investing, it's very much a relationship business. You need to be on good terms with like your property manager, your agent, so they keep sending you good deals, your contractors, so they do your work for you, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. This has been awesome. I really, really appreciate your time. Did you say, I mean, obviously you put out a ton of great content online. What's the best way for people to connect with you? Is it through that, or I know you have that webinar as well. Can you maybe talk through best way for our audience to get involved with you?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, you can follow me on any of my social media platforms. On TikTok, YouTube, and Instagram through the handle at Sean Loves Real Estate. That's SEAN, Loves Real Estate. For the most part, I do answer a lot of my DMs, but with the way the filtering system works nowadays, sometimes I miss a lot of them.
Fair.
But yeah, definitely. There's also email there as well too, so you can reach me through email as well.
Perfect. Love it. We'll link to all that stuff below. We'll link to the free resources that we provide in terms of ebooks on how to scale your real estate business and things like that too. But Sean, I really enjoyed this conversation, man. This was great. So appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Awesome. And to everyone watching, again, this is Matt Camp with DealMachine, and happy deal finding.